Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Untitled Reviews. Now, for what feels like a very long time now, the Razer Deathadder mouse lineup has been a veteran of the gaming sphere and always seems to be the jewel in the crown of any best gaming mice lists that you can find sprawled across the internet. And seems to have also been the jewel in the crown of Razer's product lineup for years. Now, the company seems to be taking a little bit of a step back from its ludicrously powerful offerings and offering something a little bit more mid-range, as the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed aims to bring those iconic looks and power to a wider audience. What you're going to get is Razer's 5G sensor with a 14,000 dpi sensor, alongside some rather good battery life and the convenience of dual connectivity. A price of $59.99 or €69.99 euros or dollars means that this sits in the middle even of the mid-range mice and actually offers you a more affordable Deathadder experience without a wire. To be honest, this all sounds fantastic on paper, but how does it perform in the real world? Inside the box, the contents of the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed are remarkably simple. You get the mouse itself, complete with USB-A receiver, and an included Energizer AA battery. So, what can you expect on the front of design of the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed? Well, if you went back and asked me last year what my favourite gaming mouse that I used over the course of last year was, I'd probably tell you it's Razer's Deathadder V2 Pro, which takes the classic Deathadder shape, adds in wireless connectivity and a 20,000 dpi sensor, and gives you the best all-round mouse that money will buy you today. It's really the same story for the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed, apart from the fact that the sensitivity's been dialed down a little bit and there's no RGB lighting. You still get that same gorgeous classic shape. There's no sacrifices made in terms of build quality. It's made of the same smooth, hard plastics that makes it such a comfortable mouse to hold, along with those signature curves that make the Deathadder look fantastic. You won't find any rubberized side grips though, unfortunately, which is a little bit of a shame really, but to be honest, given the nice shape of the Deathadder anyway, it's not really sacrificing too much. It's still a very comfortable mouse. By way of its weight, it is a little bit heavier. The base weight of 77 grams does increase to 100 grams with the bundled Energizer battery inside. I've never really minded having a heavier mouse, so it really didn't affect me that this weighs kind of a little bit over 100 grams. Your mileage may vary. You may well find that you like a lighter mouse. For that, I'll tell you to look at Asus's M4 Air with its 47 gram weight. Fitting the battery inside of the Deathadder is nicely simple. There's a little flap kind of on the bottom of the body. There's a little kind of inlet there where you just kind of flip that up and you can put the battery inside. You'll also find the receiver in there as well. You do get a choice of using either AAA or AA batteries, which will of course affect the unit's total weight, but do note you can't use both at the same time. Razer make that very plain in their website listing for this mouse, which you can check out in the description below. There is a total of 7 programmable buttons here, which all feel rather nice and tactile and firm to the touch. They all feel rather robust and well made, as is pretty typical with Razer's mice in general, although one thing with this particular iteration of the Deathadder has actually changed, which is the position of the DPI buttons. Now, normally you'd expect to find them on the top of the mouse, kind of where my finger is now, just below the scroll wheel, in that little bit there, although they have actually been moved here to these two little buttons here on the top left, just next to the left mouse button, so you can easily move the DPI up or down depending upon your preference. If you're prone to mishits, this could become a little bit fiddly. I'd prefer them to be where they normally are, just for the sake of convenience and being intuitive. Flipping the mouse over, though, you find the usual 100% PTFE mouse feet that Razer seem to bundle with all of their gaming mice these days. That means the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed will glide easily across any surface, and the lack of any specific cable just makes this all the more easier. You'll also find the sensor and dual connectivity switch of Bluetooth and 2.4 wireless. But more on that in performance. So what about performance then? Well, as this is a mid-range gaming mouse, you can probably expect the Deathadder sensor to fit right in that 12 to 16,000 dpi range, and I'm pleased to say that it sits slap bang in the middle with a 14,000 dpi Focus Plus sensor that feels rather nice and kind of snappy to use within games, offers up decent sensitivity, and it's a great mouse if you're more of a casual player and you're looking to up from maybe a 5,000 or 6,000 dpi mouse, and moving up to something with 14,000 does offer you a noticeable difference. There's accurate tracking and it feels rather responsive and robust in games, and its weight to your body, whilst not a problem for me if you're a fan of lighter mice and really need those sharp and nimble movements, the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed may not be able to make them as quickly as you perhaps want to. But if you're a casual player, this is an absolutely ideal choice. As I said in the design section right at the back end, you'll notice that there's also dual connectivity, meaning that this can connect either via Razer's rather handy Hyperspeed wireless receiver that offers zero latency, or via Bluetooth. Switching between them, the two connection methods, is pretty simple with that switch on the bottom, and the pairing process is remarkably easy. Plug and play with the receiver, practically plug and play with Bluetooth once you've turned the mouse on. On the note of dual connectivity, the battery life is probably the biggest point where the V2X Hyperspeed has improved over its predecessors. Compared to, say, the 2019's Basilisk X Hyperspeed, for instance, the bundled AA with the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed will provide you with 235 hours of playtime, whilst with Bluetooth, this kind of triples almost to 615 hours, essentially meaning that you'll be able to go for a matter of months without swapping the battery out, which is rather handy indeed. Much like a lot of the other mid-range gaming mice these days, the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed does miss out on Razer's classic chroma lighting that arguably would have brought out a little bit more by way of its design. But to be brutally honest, it's not as sore of a miss as you might expect, just given the simple fact that the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed still certainly looks the part with that matte black outer shell. On the front of software though, the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed makes use of Razer's usual Synapse 3 offering that is still remarkably intuitive and offers you the chance to customise everything from lighting presets on other mice to remapping mouse functions and changing DPI and polling rate and all the wonderful things like that. It's all very easy to use. Although, to be brutally honest, I can't help but think that Synapse, in the grand context of things, is starting to feel perhaps a little bit bloated, just given the fact that you're getting a lot of features that you arguably never use, or you only use once in a blue moon. So, I mean, you obviously can get the choice to change what parts of Synapse you install when you install it first time, but once it's installed, it's a little bit fiddly to remove any of those functions, and so you probably never bother with it. But to be honest, Synapse is still remarkably intuitive, and the Deathadder can be programmed to basically kind of any infinite level of functions, and you're sure to find something to enjoy within the software. So, in conclusion, should you buy Razer's Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed? Well, if you're somebody that's just looking for a rather comfortable mouse in general, then the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed will deliver with its timeless looks and rather ergonomic contoured shape that's fantastic for right-handers and feels absolutely excellent. Also, if you're somebody, if you're a casual gamer looking for a mouse with some good mid-range sensitivity, then the 14,000 DPI sensor on the V2X Hyperspeed here will provide you in spades, really. It's absolutely responsive and fantastic to use. Also, if you're somebody who likes a slightly heavier mouse, then the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed's 100 gram or so weight with the battery inside is sure to suit you well. Just note that if you are somebody that likes a lighter mouse, you're probably better off looking elsewhere. But to be honest, for the £59.99 pounds and $69.99 in euros asking price, you aren't really going to find many mice that are more feature packed and comfortable than the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed, not least in the mid-range gaming sphere at least. If you want some good RGB lighting on a Razer mouse, you're better off spending a little bit more on the Basilisk V3, which is a fantastic mouse in its own right, although do note that it is wired, but you do get some fantastic RGB lighting and a nicely ergonomic shape as well. But for a fantastic mid-range mouse, you won't find many better than the Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed, and so it earns an untitled thumbs up, as it were. So all I've really got left to say is that if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and of course subscribe to the channel and to ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. We've got some fantastic kind of more enthusiast-driven keyboard videos coming up at some point, so make sure to ring the bell so you don't miss those when those videos do go live eventually. To follow us on Indeed, Twitter, and of course Instagram. Links should be appearing to those on the screen right about now. And down in the description, if you're interested, there's an Untitled merch store on Spring that's been there for about a year now. And so if you want to rep the Untitled brand, as it were, and support the channel in the process, there's all manner of t-shirts, hoodies, wall art, pint glasses, mugs, canvas art, zip hoodies, pullover hoodies, all sorts of things. That's all remarkably comfortable. It's all well made. And Spring do ship worldwide, which is absolutely grand. And also, if you like any of the kit that we feature in these videos, be it this Deathadder V2X Hyperspeed mouse, or any of the other keyboards, mice, multimedia controllers, laptops, headsets, microphones, and everything in between that we've had on this channel over the last couple of years or so, then there'll be Amazon links down in the description of the videos, including this one, where you can pick all that kit up. So once again, thank you very much for watching.